Welcome back to our How to ISO series. This week we're going to be looking at or advocating that you treat implementation of your management system as a discrete project, why that's important, as well as taking a team approach and what the value in taking a team approach is. Okay, so previous weeks we've already started to frame or talk about implementation of our management system as a project. We've advocated doing some project planning, understanding the scope of works, etc. We're going to follow that today and really in that kind of framing it again as a project and why that's important. But next week we'll be looking at why project review and evaluation progressively is important as well. Okay, so today we're going to look at why taking a project approach and a team approach is important and how we might go about that as well. So why is it important? Number one, yes, it's a really big workload. If you've done a gap analysis, as we advocated in earlier weeks, you'll start to understand the number of action items required to complete your implementation is significant. It's a big workload. If we get people, particularly senior management, understanding this is a discrete project that has quite a significant workload attached to it, then that's going to increase the likelihood that they will support that with appropriate resources, time, budgets, and focus as well. And mentioning that because, yes, in our experience, as external consultants, we often get called in when the opposite has occurred. We're trying to implement a safety system or quality system, information security, whatever it might be. That's just been delegated to one person, the safety manager, for example, on top of their substantive role. There's no, last week we look at why projects can fail, but in that kind of context we're talking about where it's just delegated to one person, not given, it's not even framed as a project, it's even more likely to fail is the reality of the situation. If that person's flat out, operational issues and other safety issues come up, then of course the project gets put to the side is what typically happens. So let's start to frame it, coach our senior management. You do need to do a bit of coaching upwards as to what's involved and start using that language and framing it as a discrete project. This slide we popped up last week and it's just reinforcing the why treat this as a project. And it's really just, this kind of data is coming from the Project Management Institute website. You can look that up in more detail if you want, but some of the core reasons, yes, a lack of clarity around the objectives of what we're trying to achieve in implementation, lack of top management support, poor communication between the different layers in your business, lack of senior manager or an executive sponsor, if you like. Things like that are common reasons why projects fail, hence why we're advocating treat it as a project, work through some of those issues, coach your senior management so they understand the workload involved and you have a higher chance of a successful implementation. Again, why get a team approach? I've often seen the situation, it's just delegated to the quality manager to try and implement all the system themselves, and often with that lack of understanding from senior management as to the workload involved. But there's some significant advantages in getting a project team approach. So number one, yes, you can just share the workload. It's a big job. Great, let's share that workload out. Number two, it immediately helps change the perception of the management system. If it's just that quality manager designing the new quality system, implementing it and maintaining it, then often both management and the workforce just perceive it as, well, that's something that quality manager does, nothing to do with us. And once you start to understand those different ISO management system standards, clearly there's roles and responsibilities for senior management. Clearly there's roles and responsibilities for operational personnel as well for your system to be effective. Okay, so let's change that perception early as to what exactly it is. As well, number three, the opportunity to draw on different skill sets in the business. If you're lucky enough to have some people who are specialists in HR or communication or training, whatever it might be, great. We're going to have to go through some of those kind of things as we implement it, so let's get them involved. Another group I could think of, and it really comes back to where we see the clauses in the standard that organisations seem to struggle with the most. The two toughest ones are probably the ones around identifying your compliance obligations. Number two, evaluating your compliance obligations. So if you have anyone, obviously with any kind of legal background in your business, they would be a great resource to get on your team as well. Okay, as well as that executive sponsor, which we've already touched on. That kind of, not only can they help, you know, with senior management understanding, but yes, they can be that conduit between the project team or the implementation team and senior management. It can be a really good kind of conduit to help the communication there, as well as we've talked about senior management commitment being, in our experience, the number one success factor. Yes, that can help with authority. If I'm implementing the safety system in the business, if we've got 3 sites, 2 site managers are really supportive and want to be involved in implementing it. Another one's not interested at all. A lot of production managers are under a lot of production pressure, for example, so it's not uncommon for this kind of situation. If, you know, it really comes back to, where do I sit in the business as a safety manager? What's my level of authority to direct that person that, hey buddy, you do have to participate in what we're doing. Again, that's why if we've got commitment from the top, from senior management, as to that, yes, we're committed to this project and what we're doing, but also support with that authority and direction if it's not, if we can't direct that person to kind of change their approach, then that support would be critical. One group we haven't mentioned on and I really think see a lot of value having them on the project team, is some operational representatives as well. Number one, all of the standards kind of have operational control requirements, and we're going to be relying on those people to implement those kind of operational procedures and operational controls, if you like. So having people involved, representatives from the operational workforce, consulting with them, then that can help with the acceptance of that. But there's 2 other key reasons. One is, as you can see, knowledge sharing. It's saying there, these are people who've got expertise on, you know, within our operational processes, what can go wrong from a safety, quality, environment, food safety, or other perspective. They know exactly what can go wrong, and they also have a huge amount of knowledge as to what might be the best way to mitigate that. As well as, for a third reason, there is they are the people we're going to be relying on to implement those mitigation measures as well. So really important to have them on the project team as well. Okay, hope you've enjoyed today's session. As always, yes, if we mention any resources in our videos, then you can go to our website, irmsystems.com.au, and you can find those resources there free to download. We don't ask for your email address or anything like that. Again, if you need any assistance on your journey to certification, that's our expertise. Number 2, if you've got any particular topics or challenges you'd like us to cover, we're more than happy to look at that for you as well. Thanks for watching.